This video is brought to you today by Ghost Tags. This is my own company that I started because I wanted a glow-in-the-dark AirTag case. These things are awesome. You can stick them on your backpack, on your dog's collar, and you will be able to find it at night. We've got two colors, blue and green. They've got great reviews. Go check them out. Links to them down below. Now on to the video. Hey guys, what's up? I'm Slim and you're watching Slimothy TV. In this video, I have a super exciting one for you guys. We're going to quickly go through and compare all of the new iPhones. We're going to talk about the colors, the features, and I'm going to add in some information that Apple didn't really seem to talk about in the keynote. So let's go over this stuff right now. Now, just to preface this video, I'm going to try to go through this as quickly as possible. If you have any questions, drop them down below. I'm also going to be making a whole other video going over the iPhone 15 Pro versus the 14 Pro because I've bought every single Pro iPhone, so I'm going to give you guys the best comparison that I can. So make sure to subscribe. But for now, we're going to talk about the 15 Pro Max, the 15 Pro, and the 15. So if for some reason you want to know the differences, you're not sure which one you're going to get or a family member, watch this video. So first off, we got to talk about the colors. So Apple introduced a bunch of new colors here for the 15. They've got pink, yellow, green, blue, and black. Now, if you're noticing a theme here, you're not alone. They are pretty muted and kind of pastel-y. It's an interesting take, but that's how they're doing the colors this year. The only one that has some depth to it here is the black. It's got more of a matte black, and every single one of these colors has a matte back. So not just the black one, all of them, it's a soft touch material, just like the old iPhone 14 Pro. So you're gonna definitely enjoy that if you're coming from an iPhone 14, iPhone 13, where they have those glossy backs. Those things pick up so many fingerprints. This should solve that issue. So this iPhone is gonna feel much more premium. You're just gonna have to pick which color you like. Personally, if I had to pick one of these iPhone 15s, I mean, the pink one looks really good. I probably wouldn't rock it. I like the blue because it's almost a white, and I like the black, but that's just me. Now let's talk about the Pro models here. They both have the same four colors between them. They've got natural titanium, we've got blue titanium, we've got white titanium, and we've got, of course, black titanium. Now this looks very similar, this black one, to last year's space gray. So if you like that color, you can get it. One thing I do want to note about these colors that no one's talking about, they've put some sort of a coating on the back of this to give it kind of almost a yellowish hue. I don't know if you can see it here, but in videos from people at the event, there was a nice shimmer to the back of it, and it looked really good actually. So whatever color you choose here, they're all pretty good. I am going with natural titanium this year. I was going between blue and natural, but the blue just looks too boring and dull. And in a darker environment or non-perfect, lighting situation, it's just gonna look black. So I'm going with natural titanium. I think it looks the best, and it has the most of that pearlescent, almost a gold shimmer, almost like a starlight or a very light gold color. All right, enough about the colors. Let's say you've chosen which one you want. We got to talk about pricing. Now I have to give myself a huge pat on the back here because I called this literally like a month ago. You can go watch our old video. I said that if they increase the price, they're also going to increase the storage. You can see here, they did raise the price of just the 15 Pro Max. They raised it $100, but this one now starts at 256 gigabytes. So they actually did increase that storage, just as I mentioned. The Pro stays the same, and so does the 15. Now let's scroll down here, and there's hardly any difference between the Pro Max and the Pro, but there's a pretty big difference between the Pro and the 15. So let's talk about that here. First off, if you're going to get a Pro model, you're gonna get that ProMotion 120 Hertz display. If you go with the 15, you do not get that, nor do you get the always on display. That is kind of a big hit to the 15 that a lot of people aren't thinking about because Apple made this keynote so good. And of course they did, why not? But the 15 looks really, really good. But if you're coming from a phone with 120 Hertz ProMotion display, going to that 15 is not going to be a good look. So if you have a 14 Pro now, do not upgrade to the 15. That's a bad idea. Continuing on here, you can see titanium is on these ones. The new 15 Pros and Pro Max, the 15 still has aluminum. You get to choose what you want there. Titanium is much stronger than aluminum, as well as stainless steel. So keep that in mind. Another thing that you're going to notice here, action button. That is only on the Pro models, and there's no pictures here of it. On all iPhones right now, you get a ring silent switch. That's gone now on the Pro models. You get an action button. If you like it, cool. If you don't, well, too bad. All of them across the board get the dynamic island, which is great. And then let's talk about the chips, because I have a little bit of a suspicion of what Apple's doing here. And this is pretty interesting. The iPhone 15 is now getting the A16 chip, right? This is the same chip that was in the 14 Pro last year. So it's not a bad chip at all. It's great. In fact, I really do enjoy using my iPhone 14 Pro. The chip has never been an issue. However, Apple now has branded this chip in the Pro models as the A17 Pro. All right, where have we heard this before? Yes, that's right, the MacBooks. The MacBooks have the M1, the M1 Pro, the M1 Max, the M1 Ultra chip. If Apple is doing that with the phones, this kind of leads us to next year's phone, where we could see possibly a Pro chip for the 15 Pro, a Max chip possibly for the 15 Pro Max, and if Apple decides to do an Ultra phone, they could literally put an A17 or A18 at that point Ultra chip in that phone. Now, this is not confirmed. I am just speaking from my own intuition on this naming because we've never seen Apple name something a Pro chip on an iPhone. So just keep that in the back of your mind as we go through the next year here. So you can see the only difference that most people are going to see is that this has a 6-core GPU instead of 5-core. Honestly, it's a little bit more nuanced than that. The 17 Pro chip is going to be a decent bit faster than the 16. It's built on a whole new 3nm chip, which is the first ever smartphone to have a 3nm chip. This is of course built by TSMC, and they're the only ones doing it. Like, there's no Android phone, there's no other iPhone. This has never been done before. So the 15 Pros are a first of a kind in that sense. Now, here is a big tipping point for a lot of people. The only main difference between the 15 Pro Max and the 15 Pro is the camera system. So if you're watching this right now and you're like, what are the differences? That's literally it. Besides, obviously you get a bigger screen on the Pro Max, it's a huge phone, and you get bigger and better battery life on the Pro Max. But let me caution you, before you do like every YouTuber's doing right now and going and buying the biggest one, let me tell you a couple reasons on why you might not want the Pro Max. First reason is that the Pro Max is enormous. The phone is huge. You need to go feel it for yourself before you get it, or else you might regret it. The Pro is just right for, I think, most people. It is super comfortable. It's the perfect size. The Pro Max here, as you can see, has 5x zoom, whereas the Pro only has 3x zoom. Apple decided that they wanted to try to force more people into the Pro Max because it costs more and they make more money from you. So they put the 5x only on the Pro Max, making you think that it's better. But hold up, before you go thinking that the 5x zoom is better, after a little bit of research, there could be a couple of holdups with this. No one else is talking about this except for Mr. Who's the Boss. I saw his video on it. He mentioned that when you take a portrait mode photo, Apple typically uses the 3x zoom to kind of crop in on that, to kind of use that to frame the face. However, with this one, if you only have a 5x zoom, you're gonna have to stand so far away, it would not make it practical. So the only way around that would be to use the 1x and crop in, which would not look as good. Just keep that in mind. I don't know how true that is. We'll have to see what happens, but it's possible that the Pro Max could be worse at portrait photos than the Pro. That would be kind of crazy. No one else is talking about this. Just keep it in the back of your mind. However, 5x zoom does give you much more zoom than the Pro, and especially than the 15. If you are often wanting a 5x optical zoom on your camera, you have to get the Pro Max, which means it can also go up to 25 times digital zoom, but it does look a little grainy, and honestly, the 5x zoom is not a periscope like we had been thinking, so it's not as good as we thought it would be, unfortunately. But if you need 5x, that's how you get it. You can see here, this has the 48 megapixel from the 14 Pro last year, so it's a great camera. It's not the best though. I personally preferred the 13 Pro's pictures over the 14 Pros in most situations. This camera system should be okay. Hopefully the 15 Pro's a little bit better, but everything else looks very similar here. Let's scroll down to emergency SOS and you can see all of these have the exact same thing. This is awesome. These features are literally saving lives all the time. You can read stories about how emergency SOS via satellite has helped someone, crash detection. This is a main reason why I am wanting my family members to at least get a 14 or a 15, just for the fact that they have emergency SOS via satellite and crash detection. However, this year, Apple's also rolling out roadside assistance via satellite. So if you have AAA, this comes included, they said, with that for I think 2 years, but who knows. If you do have AAA, this is an awesome perk because let's say you're stranded, your car breaks down in the middle of nowhere, you have no service, you can request roadside assistance via satellite pretty much anywhere in the US, and it'll likely roll out to other countries as well eventually. I don't have the full list right now. Very interesting stuff here. All of them get this. This is also coming to the 14 series as well, so don't worry if you have a 14 or 14 Pro. I think they said that this is coming there as well, so you should be fine. Now, as for playback time, the Pro Max and the Pro are the same as last year's. So they did not mention any battery bumps, which is interesting. The 15, I don't know if that's the same as last year's 14, but it's still pretty good. All of them have USB-C now. However, the Pro and Pro Max get USB 3 speeds, which is 20x faster than last year's, which is USB 2 speeds with Lightning. So they all have USB-C, but the 15 is going to be much slower. Does that matter for most people? Probably not, unless you're filming a ton of videos and try to export them via cable. All right, next up we got Face ID, which is on every model, of course. 5G cellular, of course. And then here, the only difference between these, they all have ceramic shield. The only difference is the titanium versus aluminum. So it is what it is. Obviously, titanium is the much better choice if you could choose. They're all compatible with the same stuff. Here are the capacities, in case you're wondering. The 15 only goes up to 512. The Pro models go up to 1 terabytes, but the Pro Max does not have 128 anymore. All right, let's get into the nitty gritty here. So here you can see all the different specs side by side. You can see the 15 is missing that 120 hertz display, as well as always on, like I mentioned, but pretty much everything else looks the same. So that's really all you're missing there. Although I will say 120 hertz is amazing. Like, I cannot go back to a phone without it. So once you try it, you'll love it. If you've never had it, don't worry about it. Now, size and weight, this is where things get very interesting. The 15 Pro and Pro Max, I believe they're actually a little bit shorter and less wide than last year's, but they have a little more depth, I think. I'll confirm that in a bit. It's very similar though. The weight has changed quite a bit. I believe 19 grams have been shaved off of the weight for the 15 Pro, so that is very substantial. You'll feel that in your hand. The 15, I don't think has changed much. Now, while we're talking about this real quick, I do want to say the edges on the sides here are curved now more than they were on previous generations of the 14. So that means these phones, all of them across the board, are going to be a lot more comfortable in your hand. All right, let's talk about splash, water, and dust resistance. This is very crucial to every phone these days because in the old days, everyone was complaining when they dropped their phone in the toilet, the pool, the ocean, whatever. So now you can see they're IP68, which I think is the same as last year. So we should be just as good as the 14 Pros. So no issues there. Here you can see the chip, which we already mentioned. There's bigger performance gains here than what's shown, but yeah, that's what it looks like on paper. Now for the camera, they call this one the Pro camera system. I believe they said the 48 megapixel main is actually better than this one, but they don't really go into details because this is Apple, you know how they are. I did read that they have confirmed that the 15 Pro and Pro Max have 8 gigabytes of RAM. Now, obviously we need to double test this and just check, to be 100% sure, but I've heard 8 gigs of RAM in those phones, which is awesome. This should make multitasking, with different apps a lot better. It shouldn't refresh quite as often in the background when you're switching between apps. Here you can see the 15 does not have the telephoto lens at all. That's just the way it is. These have the exact same camera system, except of course the optical zoom on the telephoto is different. It's just reflecting 4 extra times to get that 5x zoom. So keep that in mind. In my opinion, it is not a reason to get the bigger phone at all. In fact, I am disappointed that Apple did not put a periscope lens in there. You can see the 15 Pro and Pro Max have adaptive True Tone flash, whereas the 15 just has True Tone. Don't exactly know what that is, but they all come with Photonic Engine and Deep Fusion, as well as Smart HDR5, which the older phones do not have. Now, all of them also come with next-gen portraits with focus and depth control. The older phones don't have that, so it's nice that all 3 of these new phones have it. You also have night mode portraits on the Pro and Pro Max, but not on the 15, nor do you have macro photography or Apple Pro RAW on the 15. So you're gonna have to get a Pro model if you care about that. Talking about video recording here, I'm not gonna go through all of this, but I will say pay attention to the frames per second that different phones can record in. You can pause this if you wanna take a closer look, but you can see right here, this is very obvious. There's no ProRes video recording up to 4K at 60 with external recording for the 15. There's also no log video recording on the 15, and you can see Academy color encoding system and macro video recording, including slow-mo and time-lapse, not on the 15. So keep that in mind. Log video recording is pretty cool. Of course, ProRes video up to 4K at 60 is kind of crazy. Those files are gonna be pretty dang big though. So you're gonna wanna get one of the higher storage models if you're gonna use some of that. Again, here's more you can take a quick look at. Not much different between them here. Front camera, you can see they're very similar as well. In fact, I am struggling to see any difference here. I don't know if you guys are. Here's a difference right here, ProRes video recording. Who the heck is doing that on the front camera? I don't know. So don't worry about that if you're getting the 15, but yeah, that's just about it. Safety, you can see they all have pretty much the same stuff, all the same carriers. So this part is actually the most interesting to me because I'm a network guy. Looks like almost all of these come in with the same here, 5G, that all looks good, gigabit LTE, of course. But then you can see the Pro models have Wi-Fi 6E rather than just Wi-Fi 6. So if you do have a Wi-Fi 6E router, you will enjoy using this one more than the 15. Now, Wi-Fi 6E just improves congestion. Honestly, Wi-Fi 6 is still great. 6E just takes it to a new level if you have the compatible hardware. If you don't, it just acts very similar to Wi-Fi 6. Bluetooth 5.3 across the board. Second gen U2 chip. So they're not really calling it that. They're just calling it the ultra wideband chip. But basically, let's call it the U2 chip. This means that if you are trying to find something with precision finding, you can now be twice as far away, probably, 40 feet, 50 feet away to precision find it. And you can now find other people, like friends, like if you're at a party or festival or a concert, it'll be easier to find them, which is cool. So it's great that they've included that on all these. I'm expecting we will probably see a new AirTag with this in it as well, maybe next year. Thread networking technology is only on the Pro models, which is interesting. I'm a little surprised to see that. If you know what that is, you'll probably want it. If you don't know what it is, probably don't need to worry about it. It's for home automation things, HomeKit stuff, and all of your smart devices talking to each other. Now here's where things get a little more interesting. The Pro and Pro Max are still the only two phones that have precision dual frequency GPS. They did not give that to the 15 yet. And you can see it's also missing Nav IC. I don't know what that is. I'm gonna have to do some research after this video, but that's the only one missing from this. However, the precision dual frequency is not there for the 15. So keep that in mind. This is mostly useful if you are in an urban setting. So if you're downtown New York City, there's huge buildings next to you. You cannot get a good GPS lock on that with the 15. With the 15 Pro and Pro Max, you'll get a much better GPS lock. Now the Apple Watch Ultra last year and this year, I believe both have dual frequency GPS. So it's kind of a bummer that they're leaving it out of the 15, but I guess they got to make you upgrade somehow. Although most people don't even know what this is. But anyways, the rest is exactly the same here. Face ID, we already know. Apple Pay, Apple Card, video calling, it's all the same. Audio calling, all the same. Audio playback, all the same as well. I mean, a lot of these things are the same here. So we're getting into the weeds, but if you care about battery life, here is the estimated playback time. So if you are a battery nut, you obviously want the bigger phone. But again, remember, you have to carry around a bigger phone, and that's a pain in the ass. The Pro Max is a disgustingly large phone. 15 Pro has really good battery life. The 15, it's fine. Nothing crazy there. Now you can see here the fast charge has not changed at all. Apple did not use this opportunity with the USB-C implementation to make a faster charging phone. That is mind-boggling to me. But you can see 50% in 35 minutes for the Pro Max, 50% in only 30 minutes for the 15 Pro. Same with this one. Now last year, I don't know if you remember this, but the 14 Pro Max could actually charge faster if you used a 30-watt adapter. It could go up to like 27 watts or something. I don't think the Pro could, but yeah, just keep that in mind. You could actually use probably a slightly higher wattage adapter to get slightly better charging speeds here. Now sensors, the 15 is still missing the LiDAR scanner, which is kind of interesting. It's not on there at all. Keep that in mind, that's the only difference here. And then SIM cards, all the same, dual eSIM. If you're outside the US, I think can still get a physical SIM in a lot of places, but if you're in the US, it's all eSIM all the time. And then USB-C, like I said, up to 10 gigabits per second on the Pro models, super slow speeds on the 15, but again, doesn't matter for most people. That has been a comprehensive look with my commentary and a little bit of tidbits that I know about these phones. I'm gonna be pre-ordering the 15 Pro Natural Titanium 256 gig on pre-order day here this Friday. That is on the 15th, I believe 8 a.m. Eastern time, so keep that in mind. Now I'm gonna be doing another video soon after this one, going over the 15 Pro and 14 Pro. And then if you guys want, I can also do one going over the 14 and 15, but I don't know how many people want that, but maybe I'll do it anyway for you guys, just to help you out. If you like this video, subscribe. I've got tons of case reviews coming. So many companies are sending us stuff, so we're gonna have to get through all that backlog of iPhone 15 accessories, iPhone 15 Pro cases, everything like that, so stay tuned. We got some pretty cool stuff coming. If you like the video, hit it with a big thumbs up and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.